Hi there. This is the final slide deck for the heap vulnerability classes. In this, we learned about use after freeze and double freeze. We're going to be using both of these vulnerability classes, but mostly use after freeze, throughout the rest of this course in order to demonstrate the techniques that come after this. There was one vulnerability class that's a little bit different that I wanted to talk about that I normally don't talk about in my course because you just don't have time for it. And this is arbitrary freeze. Arbitrary freeze are when you have control over the pointer being freed. And this can be because of a buffer overflow into a pointer or an out-of-bound indexing issue. And arbitrary freeze are probably the most powerful of all these vulnerability classes that I've talked about. Because with an arbitrary free, if you can control the pointer that's being freed, then that gives you the capability to free anything in the program. So with a use after free, you're limited by what pointer you have access to. But with an arbitrary free, if you can write arbitrary data there and free anything you want, you can cause a use after free on any object in the program, which is extraordinarily powerful. Maybe there's an object that has function pointers or a system command that gets ran. This can be extraordinarily useful for exploitation purposes. It's kind of similar to the other ones, but I don't really talk about this, and I thought it was worth throwing out there. When I'm looking for heap-specific vulnerability classes, I mostly look for calls to free. Although you can look for calls to malloc, it's not as helpful. With calls to free, you can look for things like arbitrary freeze, use after freeze, and double freeze. I just look for calls to free that shouldn't be happening effectively. And everything else is the same for buffer overflows. You look for bounds checking. Can you write data outside the length? Can you specify an index that you shouldn't be able to specify that goes too far? Integer overflows to do that. There's a lot of different ways to go about finding those sorts of bugs, but they're all the same. So with that, you complete the vulnerability classes and intro to malloc sections, which I think are the two most important sections. And now, if you've done this well, I guarantee a lot of these techniques just fall right out. The idea is that these techniques are now going to be really easy now that you understand how the allocator works and the vulnerabilities we can use to exploit them. Good luck in the next module, which is our first technique module.